Well, it looks like Joe Biden is now implementing a policy that he personally got rid of not so long ago himself.
Obviously, Iran has gone way is way off board. We're going to put together a joint statement. Hasn't been done yet. It'll be done before too long, probably by the time we land. And there's going to be some sanctions imposed on Iran.
Yep, as the president of the United States who got rid of sanctions on Iran is implementing new sanctions on Iran as the situation in the Middle East is getting absolutely completely out of control as now the Russians have been attacked by the Israelis, according to many accounts. There's larger issues specifically around trade that are absolutely worrying for the global economy. This as the airstrikes are continuing expanding and the implications couldn't be more severe. All of this as domestically the population of the United States is dealing with some severe impacts from a hurricane where the government really is showing their ineptitude as the U.S. federal government has been sending billions of dollars for foreign governments in order to fill the coffers of the military-industrial complex, while grocery stores in Asheville, North Carolina look like this.
Here's the milk. Wednesday, October 2nd.
This is we could expect the problem to get that much worse as we are on the third day of U.S. port dock workers striking, as many container vessels all throughout the United States have been unable to unload their merchandise into the United States, as there's an extraordinary number of ships currently in Singapore right now, all bunched up because of the major disruptions that are not just happening in the United States, but also the Red Sea. This as the Houthi rebels inside of Yemen just sent out a very not-so-friendly email alert warning all the ships in the Red Sea to prepare for attack, leaving the email by saying, best regards. Yeah. All of this as the Iranians could also close up the Strait of Hormuz, and international trade and travel along with energy prices will, of course, be absolutely fully destabilized in an already destabilized global economy. So yeah, looking at the prediction markets, not looking good. Now, it's important to note here, Singapore is usually as busy as we are seeing it, but the point still needs to be made that whenever we have a global conflict, we also have disruption of global trade, which is expected to, of course, become more dreaded for the average consumer, as energy prices are going to go up, items are going to be more expensive, trade routes are going to be potentially blocked off, and in response to that, the prices of everything essentially go up pretty dramatically. This as internationally, the situation got a little bit more tense as Israel now is suspected of striking a Russian airbase in Syria, which allegedly transported weapons for Iran, as 30 missiles triggered a huge explosion in Syria after reportedly Iranian missiles arrived at the base. This as some people are pointing out that this is a very unusual action by Israel, since, of course, this larger explosion was near some very important Russian assets and bases in the specific region. All of this as Russia has extended their close ties to the Syrian government that, of course, the United States, Israel, and Saudi Arabia tried to overthrow. There was a larger civil conflict inside of Syria as the Russians stood by the Syrian government, and the United States, Israel, and Saudi Arabia stood behind the Sunni Wahhabist rebel groups inside of that particular region that were big proponents of radical jihadism and still pose a larger threat to the Western world. As the United States supported this regime change, all in the name of, quote, democracy, which a lot of people personally questioned. Now, the reason this attack near a Russian base, or some analysts would say on the Russian base, is significant is because there was kind of scuttlebutt. There was rumors that the Russians could potentially give the Iranians nuclear weapons. And as the Mirror reports, Israel versus Iran in a nuclear exchange inside of the Middle East would be absolutely devastating for the world. And that's the prospects of what we're dealing with here, as it's fair to say we're playing with matches around a whole bunch of explosive gas canisters all around us, which I think really isn't the strategic most smartest thing to do. This as the Russians today are also reporting that they have just intercepted drones that were allegedly flown by the Ukrainians towards the nuclear plant in Kursk, as luckily there was no damage to the nuclear power plant. As the reports state that there were explosives that did affect a building near the plant but was unrelated to the plant. All of this as now the Israelis are weighing the possibilities of bombing the Iranian nuclear power plants. As today, we also got a new perspective into their sabotage efforts and larger intelligence gathering schemes, as the Telegraph today is reporting that the former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Boris Johnson, is telling everyone now that his security team found a listening device in his bathroom after Benjamin Netanyahu visited it. Yes, you heard that correctly. All in this bizarre world of espionage, spying, and not trusting each other. The Prime Minister of Israel now, allegedly, according to the Telegraph, bugged the private bathroom of Boris Johnson in order to spy on him. Now, that's a level of mistrust that is pretty eye-opening, to say the least, as, of course, the UK and Israel are some of the closest allies. As it's important to note that these sabotage efforts probably aren't bringing the countries closer together and bring up larger questions and possibilities of potential extortion, sabotage, and some underhanded efforts at play here that I think should be talked about and at least speculated upon, especially when it comes to the Western world's kind of involvement in all of this, which, as we found out recently, the United States publicly saying, hey, Israel, stop with the escalations, and then privately also telling the Israeli government and military that they absolutely approve of everything that they're doing. All of this as today we are finding out that 9 people have lost their lives in central Beirut after another Israeli airstrike, as the battle now is unfolding in the south of Lebanon with an Israeli ground invasion of the region. This as a lot of countries are scrambling to evacuate their citizens from Lebanon, as of course a lot of people expect a wider offensive, a larger war here. That's something that of course we were telling you was going to happen here. We specifically said, yeah, this ground invasion is going to happen. It's not a matter of if, but when. It is happening. It's unfolding. It is serious. It is legitimate. As Israel now is also extending their evacuation warnings in Lebanon, as a lot of people expect a bigger offensive in that particular region, as everyone is also awaiting the Israeli response towards Iran, as the European Commission now issued a recommendation telling people not to perform flights within the airspace of Iran up until October 31st, as we are still awaiting the response that the Israelis will be giving the Iranians, as many people expect major escalations with that, as this was an escalation from a response from a previous escalation, as we're dealing with this kind of escalatory trap here that, of course, keeps spinning out of control and not just wreaking havoc on this economy, but on this world and all of humanity in general. As it's important to note here that we are very close to an all-out war across the Middle East, signaling larger issues that are very severe, that are very drastic, that I think are worth paying attention to more than ever. All of this as the United States has just announced that they are deploying troops to Cyprus ahead of a potential emergency situation in the Middle East, where they will be there specifically to help American citizens flee and leave the entire territory of the Middle East, which could be engulfed in absolute destruction and devastation. But yeah, we called a lot of this, specifically on LukeUnfiltered.com. We release special behind-the-scenes videos where I go deep down the rabbit hole, where I give you my insight, where I give you all of my information that I know, specifically to members of LukeUnfiltered.com. We're going to be releasing another video later on today, as members also get the ability to call in to our show. They get 3 master classes. If you haven't signed up yet, what are you waiting for? As of course, we need your support more than ever. We also have wearechange.shop, where you can get incredible products like magnesium glycinate. And if it wasn't for your support, if it wasn't for you guys buying these products that are absolutely awesome and incredible, that I personally use, that have helped me tremendously with sleep, with stress, with anxiety, you name it, with workout performance, magnesium glycinate, wearechange.shop. Check it out, because your support is is more crucial than ever, and this kind of situation is a win-win for you and me and everyone, as the only way to grow and expand is to provide you real good services. I work in a way where I want to provide you an offer of value, an offer of something, of goods that help you become a better, stronger human being, and I centrally focus on that specifically through these independent media broadcasts that are fueled through your support and participation, which I can't thank you enough for. I wouldn't be here for 20 years if it wasn't for that, and this is why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on youtube.com/wearechange.